We have Jayant Krishna, Senior Fellow CSIS, and Anil Trigunayath, former ambassador. Welcome to the conversation, both gentlemen. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I'll start with Mr. Krishna. Given your expertise, how do you think India's recent narrowing of its trade deficit to $24.53 billion in the month of November signaled to the Trump administration a shift from being seen as a trade competitor to a more balanced partner? Do you reckon with that view, and especially in light of the fact that we have managed to maintain U.S. as a key trading partner despite these tariffs, as highlighted by Commerce Secretary Rajesh Agrawal today?
Yes, so Malika, I think the US continues to be the second largest trading partner for India, next only to China. And, I mean, the fact is that 6 rounds of negotiations have been completed. And, what you see that the overall trade offtake has not suffered so far. I think the reasons are twofold. One is that, when the tariff changes, a lot of things which are in the pipeline, they take time for the cycle to be complete and the new tariff to be applicable on them. This is one reason. And the other reason is a very large percentage of the products that India exports to the US. This is currently exempt from the 50% US tariff, right? I'm talking about products like tea, coffee, fruits, beef, pharmaceutical products, medical devices, critical minerals, semiconductors, energy products, cell phones, some of the electronic products. So these are the products where it is exempted currently. And some estimates say that almost 40% of the total exports from India to the US comprises of these products which are currently exempted. So I think that is the reason you see a temporary, increase in total overall exports to the US. But if the tariffs are not rolled back and they do not come down substantially and are there anywhere between the range of 13-14% to 17-18%, if we don't get that deal, then in the coming months, the overall exports from India to the US are going to suffer for sure. So let's not celebrate that, last couple of months have been good for overall exports. They are the reasons because of these extraneous things which I just discussed. But, eventually, it will take its toll if the tariffs are not rolled back sooner than later.
Noted, noted. If tariffs aren't rolled back, there's a possibility that this trade deficit number that we're currently very proud of, in fact, we've taken very positively, might not be seen. There's a possibility of that. But Mr. Trigunayath, getting you in the conversation, with 6 formal rounds completed on the India-US BTA, how might this progress diplomatically reassure Trump's negotiators that India is committed to a fair trade?
Well, I think that the proof of the pudding is in eating, and India has been consistently maintaining that we want a fair trade. And I agree with Mr. Krishna. What we have started doing is, though USA continues to be our major trading partner, we have started diversifying our trade basket. And frankly, in the run-up to President Trump's a lot of these one-sided tariffs, many of the importers and the exporters had worked together so that there is a tremendous advance orders and completion of the orders. So that's why the inventory has been pretty high. On the other side, that could be one of the reasons that the trade was not impacted, apart from the fact that about 50% of the Indian goods were beyond the remit of these 50% tariffs. At the same time, let us see now, Prime Minister is going to Oman. He'll be signing a free trade agreement with Oman. Actually, that will also be very useful for us. I am here in Dubai, and I was just talking to our friends in CEPA that we signed with UAE first. Our trade has gone 100% increase, actually, within 5 years. So, which is an amazing thing. From $65 billion, it has gone over to $100 billion in non-oil products. So we are diversifying all over. 50 trade deals are being discussed with different countries. New Zealand is virtually ready now for signature. So India is diversifying markets. All our embassies have been actually asked to identify what are the products where we can go in. So we are not going to, I mean, it's a good learning experience in my view. What President Trump did was really a kind of a wake-up call for India, that you can't take any market for granted. That will continue to remain like that. So it's important for our businesses to be ready for it. These kind of volatile changes that can take place in a unilateral manner, because international institutions no longer function. It's become all bilateral transactionalism as well as the protectionism, which is prevalent here. And we will also see that, like Russia, for example, now President Putin himself was committed to enhancing India's exports. So 300 items have been identified for increasing India's exports. So I think that we'll have to look at from different perspectives, that going forward, we have to be competitive and we have to secure new markets, and which I think the government of India has been committed to do so.
Trigunayat, I'd like to then ask you a follow-up. Yes, you highlighted right that Trump's tariffs in some form or the other may have been a blessing in disguise, especially because the byproduct of these tariffs on India was the fact that we diversified, and we diversified to records we have not seen before, at least in this century. I'd like to ask you, now that diversification is happening extensively across the board. We have FTAs in discussions with New Zealand. We're discussing trade with the Middle East. In fact, UAE was also one of our top destinations when it comes to exports, imports. What message does this send to the US administration on India's diversification trade tactic?
It's not a trade tactic, it is a strategy.
Strategy,
And I think
okay.
we should have adopted it long back. And I'm glad that we are doing so now. So we are going to convey it to them very clearly. And I don't know if you have heard the Commerce Minister Lutnick and the kind of language that he was using against India. I mean, that was a wake-up call, frankly. I mean, and I'm sure that while we are talking to them, there were 3 delegations in the last few days, and that is why the Commerce Secretary is saying that we will not have any more rounds. So discussions can happen online. And the Jamieson Greer is on record saying that they have got the best deal from India. And Commerce Minister has said if it is the best deal, might as well sign on the dotted lines. So we can't be more clearer than to the US administration that if we continue these kind of high-handed practices, then obviously, I mean, India will find new partners. Of course, you will remain very important for us, United States, as a trading partner, as an investment partner, as a technology partner, and in several other areas like defense and security. But at the same time, we will continue to find newer partners and newer markets.
Well said. As we continue to find newer partners in new markets, US still remains a very paramount partner for India when it comes to trade. But Mr. Krishna, how do you see India's proactive engagement with the EU FTA, narrowing differences without dropping chapters, influence Trump's view of India as a counterweight in a multipolar trade world, according to you?
No, absolutely, Malika. I think European Union today accounts for almost 25% of the global GDP, right? It's too important a country. And if you look at India itself, the total trade India has with the European Union is of the order of $136 billion, right? So I think there has been good progress in the sense that, almost 11 of the 23 chapters have been closed, which means that, the discussions have led to a very conclusive level in 11 of those 23 chapters. And recently, just a few days back, Mr. Piyush Goyal, our Commerce Minister, met the European Union Commissioner, and the discussions were quite positive. And I think both European Union and India have agreed that the issues are not just tariff, but also they include non-tariff barrier. How do you treat the digital trade, which has become a very, very important component of international trade today? And also while looking at, beyond trade, things like climate issues, sustainable development, and so on and so forth, those issues are also a part of these trade discussions itself. And greater market access for European Union in India, for products like cars, other services, investments, and so on and so forth. So I see fundamentally some good progress. And the good thing is now we are almost practically half of December is over, but they're still targeting the FTA with the European Union to be signed by end of this month. So I think it's a bit challenging to my mind because, now it's all Thanksgiving, of course, that's more in the US, but even Christmas and so on and so forth, people holiday. So that could be one constraint. Otherwise, I think we are very close to signing it by the end of this month itself, a full-fledged FTA with European Union,
Okay, so Mr. Krishna, you said it's challenging to sign, an FTA with Europe this month itself. Is it just because of the Thanksgiving season and the holiday season that's coming in, or is there a diplomatic layer to the answer as well?
I think not as much diplomatic, but more. I think one it being a holiday season, both sides have to be available, and secondly, some of the chapters which are yet to be negotiated, yet to be the final agreement reached. I think that will take some time. But for all I mean, once both countries have talked about this deadline, they might as well be fully prepared to meet it also. As a rank outsider, I feel it's a very challenging because when I was in the corporate sector and later in the government, that's what I used to see, that a lot of work used to come to a grinding halt, especially in the last 2 weeks of December. So I hope that doesn't allow the FTA to get derailed. It won't get derailed, but extended and getting into 2026. So that's all what I meant. I hope the governments are prepared, and those fallback options and availability of key people on both sides has already been looked into.
Mr. Krishna and Mr. Trigunayat, that's all the time we had allocated for this discussion. But thank you so much for giving us your views